Folks, the regular season is right around the corner, but before opening day, we need to have a chat. We need to set some things straight before the start of the 2026 MLB season. And of course, we can't talk about MLB without talking about the Los Angeles Dodgers. I've said before that the way the Dodgers have built themselves into this juggernaut didn't happen overnight. But I've also said that every team can spend like the Dodgers, that every team has the same financial flexibility as the Dodgers, and that every team should be doing what the Dodgers are doing. Well, that isn't entirely true, and I do have to set the record straight and admit that I was wrong about the money. Not everyone can spend like them, and on paper, it does present a competitive advantage that borders on unfair. The Dodgers are a wagon. So what? They really are the second coming of the evil empire, and they aren't here to mess around. They won the World Series in 2024 and in 2025, and then they added Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz on stupid money contracts. Their lineup didn't lose any meaningful contributors, and it's still one that doesn't let you breathe until maybe the 8 or 9 hole hitters. And even so, you still have to deal with the likes of Kike Hernandez and Miguel Rojas coming off the bench, both of whom have kept the Dodgers at the top of the mountain in recent years. Well, so what? There has never been an imbalance of talent this massive, perceived or otherwise, in the history of baseball. There hasn't been a universal villain in baseball since the Yankees of the early 2000s. So I bet you're wondering, why bother? Why bother watching this season since we're headed for a lockout following 2026? Why pay attention when there's one team significantly more talented than everyone else? Why believe the likes of the Phillies and the Brewers, both of whom won more games than the Dodgers in the 2025 regular season, can do the same thing this year? Why believe in resurgent years from the likes of the Atlanta Braves under new manager Walt Weiss, a new coaching staff, and a healthy roster, at least for now? And why believe the Toronto Blue Jays, who had the Dodgers within a spike's length of winning it all, can run it back in 2026? Why should you believe in baseball being baseball in 2026? It's because baseball is weird and nothing is given. None of what happened in 2025 can just be expected to happen again. Nobody thought the Atlanta Braves, one of the most consistent teams since the start of the 2018 season, would fall off a cliff and see precipitous declines from almost every regular player before injuries demolished any chance they had to be competitive. Nobody thought the Brewers would steamroll every team in the league on their way to a league best 97 wins. That does include a season sweep of the Dodgers. In fact, it wasn't just the Brewers and the Phillies. The Yankees and the Blue Jays also won more games in the regular season than the Dodgers. The Cubs won exactly one fewer game than the Dodgers. But I thought the team that acquired Blake Snell and Tanner Scott immediately after winning the World Series in 2024 would ruin the sport. Well, no, because it turns out baseball doesn't work that way. For as much as we lament the Dodgers and their spending, there are so many things that could happen in the 2026 season that would both be surprising, but also completely expected. Just like life, baseball is full of twists and turns and remains wholly unpredictable. Well, you need another concrete example of the volatility of baseball, especially played over 162? We'll look no further than the World Baseball Classic. Team USA was the prohibitive favorite going into the tournament, with the most loaded roster the US has ever had in the competition. Tarek Skubal and Paul Skeens on the mound to start, Mason Miller in the back end of the bullpen, and a lineup consisting of Aaron Judge, Bryce Harper, Bobby Witt Jr., and a stupidly good group of stars that made it almost impossible to see the US not win. But that's just it. There will never be a foregone conclusion in baseball because at the end of the day, the difference between winning and losing can come down to the most razor thin of margins. So when Team Venezuela won it all, I don't know about you, but I just sat back and enjoyed the show. I know it's a very small sample size and single elimination games are wholly uncommon, but you can't deny the fact that sometimes the burden of expectation is the biggest deterrent to success. Back to the Dodgers. A team hasn't had this level of expectation since the 2000 Yankees, who themselves just came off back-to-back World Series wins. And even the 2000 Yankees weren't nearly as talented as the Dodgers. But for as loaded as the Dodgers are, we are maybe 3 or 4 routine plays away from the Dodgers being labeled a failure. If Aaron Judge makes this catch in Game 5 and the Yankees hang on to win, the 2024 World Series shifts back to LA with the Yankees controlling every ounce of momentum. If Ryan Kerkering throws the ball to first base on this play in the 11th inning of Game 4, who's to say this series doesn't shift to Philadelphia for Game 5 and the Phillies end up winning? If this ball off the bat of Addison Barger doesn't nestle under the center field padding, the Blue Jays probably win the World Series. If Isaiah Kiner-Falefa gets a slightly bigger lead, he scores here and the Blue Jays win the World Series. Sorry, Blue Jays fans, we're just illustrating how narrow margins have changed the course of history. But since those plays transpired the way they did, we're talking about a Dodger dynasty and not all that spending with just the 2020 title. It's a silly exercise at its core because hindsight is always 2020. But what you should take away from this video is that nothing in baseball will ever be a foregone conclusion. Well, sure, the likelihood that the Dodgers win the World Series, according to bookmakers and Fangraphs and basically any prediction you'll read, is higher than almost any team in history. A three-peat right before a lockout will almost certainly guarantee that a salary cap gets inserted into the next CBA. But giving up on a season before a single pitch has been thrown is silly, and the game of baseball is in a better place now than it's ever been. Beyond just the teams we don't like because they're richer or more talented or more experienced or more well coached than ours, there are so many reasons to be excited for the 2026 season. We get to watch Ronald Acuna Jr., fresh off a World Baseball Classic championship with Venezuela, lead the Braves in their bid to reestablish themselves as one of baseball's best. We get to watch Vladdy and the Blue Jays run it back. We get to watch Nick Kurtz and the Swingin' A's take another step forward. We get to watch Cal Raleigh and the Mariners take another shot at delivering Seattle their first trip to the World Series. Bobby Witt Jr. and the Royals, Judge and the Yankees, Roman Anthony and the Sox, Soto and Lindor and the Mets, and on and on and on. There is no shortage of stars and certainly no shortage of good teams around the league that in the right moment can topple the so-called unstoppable Dodgers. So, with all that said, what am I looking forward to most in 2026? I'm looking forward to seeing the Atlanta Braves under Walt Weiss's leadership and hopefully a massive resurgence. I'm looking forward to the most dynamic power-speed combos tormenting pitching staffs all season. I'm looking forward to watching truly unhittable pitching make the best hitters of all time look amateurish at best. I'm looking forward to those games that mean nothing in April and the ones that mean everything in September. I'm looking forward to seeing the next generation show us why the game is in good hands today, tomorrow, and in the future. But most of all, I'm just looking forward to baseball. Regardless of who you support or which players you love to watch night in and night out, the 2026 season should be yet another enthralling chapter in the history of the greatest sport on the planet. Oh, and Braves in 4.